Hi. That's cringy. Yeah, so I only started this channel just a bit of a podcast, really. My name's Callum, by the way. Maybe just since we're all in lockdown, well, since a lot of us are in lockdown anyway, especially up north. And I just wanted to talk about like kind of mental health side of things. I just wanted to like kind of document my own experiences in a sense. Because I kind of feel like I don't think you ever really get to the end of a journey when it comes to like mental health, but I think I'm at a point where I'm actually able to talk about it without breaking out into tears and having a mental breakdown, which is not fun. Especially right now, I think because there's so many people just like experiencing that kind of mental health and like going through anxiety and going through like depression. I think there's so many different types of it. People talk about it. A lot of people talk about it nowadays, which is a lot of progression compared to when people like my stepbrother, who's like 12 years older than me, had difficulty talking about it when he was growing up. But it all comes from like different areas. So there's obviously like in my head with how I understand it, there's like kind of from my personal point of view, a lot of it came from like my life experiences. So like stuff that happened when I was like I can barely even remember, but it's stuff like it's kind of lodged in my brain, kind of. The amount of talking with a counsellor was just an absolute joke, trying to get to the bottom of it. But I think there's obviously people that kind of develop it with like certain like kind of later on experiences. Like I look over YouTube and like kind of an outsider point looking in, you look at people like Bazinga, who's a massive inspiration to a lot of people really on YouTube, with kind of like the progress that he's gone through and kind of the transformation that everyone's obviously seen. If you started watching Sidemen from like donkeys ago, and it's just it's like what the guy's done is an absolute joke, and like there's so many people like that. Then you look at like professional footballers, so you look at people like Jesse Lingard. I mean, I think we all, myself included, we all like make jokes about like kind of these people who are ridiculous amounts of money, but it doesn't discriminate, and it's genuinely horrible. I mean, if I try and describe it to anybody that doesn't really experience it, like when you have like a really kind of deep spell of depression, from my point of view, it's like I remember watching Harry Potter. I remember watching like the Dementors coming over, and like I didn't think anything of it. I thought it was just a film. I thought it was just, it was just a weird thing that good old J.K. Came up with herself. But looking back on it now, watching it when I'm a bit older, now I can understand a lot of things a lot more. It like when the Dementors come over and it's cold and it's dark and it's horrible and all this blah blah. It genuinely is actually quite interesting, really, because I don't know whether she based it around kind of that feeling of depression, but that genuinely is what it kind of feels like. Like when you wake up in the morning and you just can't move and you start sweating, but you're also cold, and it's genuinely awful. I mean, especially with lockdown. I mean, I went through it myself. Like I started really kind of. I was at my worst when I was about 18ish. I think back, and I think most people that know me know what happened. Being on the edge of that canal, I'm 23 now, so that's 5 years, and I can only just actually walk on a canal, which is actually kind of embarrassing. Well, it's not, but it's genuinely horrible. But I've completely lost my train of thought. This is all very unedited, by the way. I mean, I can't edit. I'm literally, if I could show you, I've got my iPhone on the window using one of those like little hands-free little car things that you put on the windscreen. I'm literally got my phone on that. So I am the least skilled and least talented person on the planet when it comes to like technology. Like most talent I've got in technology is if I bang like a 9 kill on search, or if I get like 5 kills on Warzone, I'm genuinely quite happy. So yeah, I'm not great. But no, back to the point, I'm just kind of like talking about generally about mental health, just like waffling on, and just if anybody kind of relates to it, if anybody wants to tell me to fuck off, or if anybody wants to just tell me to, I don't know. Well, I mean, I grew up in Modern Warfare 2 with Xbox, so if you want to throw an insult, let me go for it. I'll probably laugh. But no, like going back to like my experiences, so I'll talk about when I was 18. So I remember when I woke up that morning, and I think if there's quite a few people that are waking up with this kind of similar feeling at the moment, in the morning, then you just need to know that you're not the only person. That was my most difficult issue, was realizing that I'm not the only one going through this. There's quite a few people going through a similar thing. We're all different, but it all stems down to a very similar deep rooted feeling, and that feeling is that you just don't want to be here. Yeah, like it's as simple as, like, well, it's not as simple as that, but you get this. It's the phrase of saying it's as simple as, like, you just don't want to be here, and you're just panicking, and you're feeling, oh god, if I did it, then what the fuck would people? What would people? I'm trying not to swear. What would people think? But then you'd think, well, I'm not going to be feeling that pain anymore. So, like, it's that balance that you're trying to battle it in your head, and you don't know where to go, you don't know where to turn, you don't know who to call, you can't even lift your hand, you can't even turn your head, your pillow is soaked with tears, and it was a vital. I think it was the morning, if I remember it correctly, that I started feeling like that, and I walked out. Well, yeah, it was horrible. I walked down to the canal, which was about a 5-minute walk from where I lived at the time. And I remember just sitting on the bench, and I got up and I walked right to the edge of the canal. Like, whilst all this was happening, like, whilst I was home, I was getting bombarded with phone calls, but I was so, like, tunnel visioned in, like, just not knowing what was going on. Like, I couldn't see around me. It all was just a bit of a blur, and I didn't realise that people were trying to get in touch with me. I mean, my brother, my sister, my dad. My dad was in Northumberland, my mum's in Scotland. My brother lived in South Manchester. My sister lived in Ormskirk, and like, I was in Chorley, if you know where it is. It's like Lancashire, so no one was particularly near me. So like, everyone was bombarding me with phone calls, and I remember going down to the canal. And it was just it's all a bit blurred now, really. But I sat on the bench. And I got up and I walked towards the edge of the canal, and I hovered like 1 foot over the canal. And I don't know what snapped me out of it. I don't know whether it was just like an instant, like, kind of kick back, or like an instant, like, kind of like push off. I try not to swear, like, go away kind of feeling in my mind, that I didn't realise, like, kind of instinctively kind of said, right, this is stupid. You can't do this. Like, this is really, really stupid. So I got up my mum. My mum rang me and I picked up. And she said to me that, like, what I said to her, that I don't know, I can't do it. I don't know what's going on anymore. I can't deal with this anymore. And she rung up the GP and said, right, okay, it's an emergency. I need you to see my son. And so I got to the GP, and like, there's a question that I'll always go back to, and that was, if you leave here, can I trust you won't do anything? And I just broke. I just absolutely broke down. There were a few of my friends that turned up out of the absolute blue from Chorley, from Preston, that got to Bolton Hospital before I could even get there, with one of my best mates, and like, I'll forever thank them. I mean, they saved my life that night. I mean, if they didn't turn up, and if my mum did it, like, there's so many people that I have to thank for that night. But my point is that it's such a, it can all happen within a few hours. Like, when you wake up in that mood, and you wake up in that state of mind, not knowing what fully is going on, just not wanting to be there, it can all happen so quickly, and it is absolutely vital. I'm trying to talk as if, like, I'm just a regular Joe. I mean, I'm skin. Like, I got made redundant from the first lockdown of COVID. I've been trying to find a job. I am looking forward to starting my new job, which I'm starting on the 26th. If Boris doesn't end up putting us on lockdown today, but cheers, Bojo. Yeah, my guy. So yeah, but so I am just a really just normal bloke, in a sense that, like, I've gone through this for the past 5 years, and I'm continuing to go through this. I mean, I always like keep these to the side of my bed. I have been on and off medication since I was 18, so since that little spell I just told you about, and I don't know if I'll ever come off. Like, I don't know when I'll come off them. I don't know if I will. I mean, all I know is that for minimum at least 6 months I'm going to be on medication, and I can tell you that without medication my head's all over the place, and I could quite easily slip back to that place I just told you about. But it's just not pleasant, and the things that I know so many people have gone through a similar thing, and it's genuinely terrifying. I mean, my like a completely different circumstance and completely different set of scenario. My sister went through a really bad spell, and that would my stepsister's sister. She's my sister to me. Went through a really bad spell, and obviously I won't say her name. But it was just horrendous, and I remember like at the time she'd taken quite a few she'd taken quite a few drugs, and it all got quite bad, and she got sectioned in hospital, and it was almost so extreme. But I'd like one of the most horrible things that I've been told quite often throughout the last few years is that people are on so much worse, and look, there are kids starving. You look like I am very fortunate to have been made redundant. I can barely pay my phone bill. I can barely pay for my own medication. I mean, my mum paid for this last set of medication. I can't pay for it, but I am so fortunate to have family that I can turn back to and just say I need to swap between houses or whatsoever. I am very fortunate for that sense. And there are people that are on 200 grand a week that play football that will be happily struggling. Like will wake up and just be thinking, I can't do this again. I can't go through it. And people say, well, you're on so much money. You've got so much to do. You've got so much. You've got so much. You can't feel like that. And mental health doesn't discriminate. So I don't know how many what the population of this country is. I don't even, I can barely remember my own dad's birthday, for Christ's sake, never mind the population of the UK. But there are millions of people in this country that will be suffering from mental health, that will be on medication, that will be getting help, that will be going to see a counsellor every other day, or will have somebody coming to them, or that could end up being made homeless. Mental health doesn't discriminate, and if you are one of those people that will sit there and say he's a footballer, he's an athlete, he's a millionaire, he can't feel like that, then you need to get a grip. You really need to just have a look around and just realise that there's probably someone in your family that's suffering, that feels a similar way, and if you say that to them, then you could tip them over the edge. I mean, I grew up on Xbox. So when I was growing up in high school, I was on Xbox. I was playing GTA. I was playing Modern Warfare 2. I was on Search with my mates, and for anybody that experienced Modern Warfare 2, it's a toxic place. It was, you developed a bit of a tough skin if you went in game chat on Search. So like I kind of grew up like having insults hurled at me, and like you kind of learn to just either give it back or just take it. I mean, and there are people I've in the climate of the world today. There's so many people that say like if you got a dark sense of humour, then it doesn't mean you got a dark sense of humour. It means that you're racist, homophobic, blah blah blah. I've seen that a few times on Facebook and Twitter. No, it means that you can see the light in pitch black. Okay, that sounds impossible. That sounds stupid, but that's the approach that I have to take on a daily basis. Is that I'm lucky to be in a relationship. I'm lucky to have someone so wonderful to fall back on and call if I'm having a bad day. I'm lucky to have parents who will go out of the way to help me. I'm lucky to have a brother down the road. I'm lucky to have my older sister who is my biggest confidant, and I'll never be able to thank her enough for the amount of times she's put up with a rant of mine. But it's just ridiculous. Like sometimes I'll wake up in a bad space and I'll have to find something funny or something good about the situation that I'm in, and that's kind of similar in my mind to having a dark sense of humour. Is if you don't have a dark sense of if you can't take anything on the chin. Like one of my favourite comedians is Ricky Gervais, because he just says it how it is, and he's not afraid to go out there and say a joke that could potentially offend 95% of this country, but he'll say it because he finds it funny, and he will find something funny in a dark situation. That's mental health to a T. That's how you've got to. That's how I've had to get myself out of situations so many times that I've had to find the light in pitch black. And it doesn't mean that I find suicide funny. It doesn't mean that I find have an anxiety attack funny. It just means that I can find the light in pitch black. That's not. Yeah, I don't want to talk about depression too much, but I'll leave it there with depression. Like, I kind of talk about anxiety, talk about that feeling that I've had to leave work more times than I can probably remember up until recently. Up until my last job, probably. No, job before that, because the last one wasn't too great. Sorry. Sorry guys at the pub. I just had to leave because I had to move back to Bolton. If you're watching. So anxiety, it how I picture it, it's like a light switch, and and you're feeling panicky and you start shaking and you don't really know what's going on. You start worrying about every single bloody thing that's going on around you, and it's vile. And I am quite happy. Which one is it? Is that one? Yeah, that one. Lovely bit of propranolol, if I pronounced it correctly. If I didn't, I'm sorry. 20 GP. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, don't want to give you all the details. Not that there's any details on there in case anybody that wants it. If you want to know my name, it's on there, and the date they got given to me. You can't really do much with that, to be honest. It's like, yeah, great. My anxiety, I really distinctly, like, I always feel it as a feeling of you don't know what's going on, and you're creating all sorts of scenarios that could possibly happen, and it's making you panic, and it's making you worry, and it's making you think, oh, you know, it's really putting you on the edge, ultimately putting you on the edge. And I've had to leave work so many times, and there's people at work that have helped me get through these spells, and I've had these techniques from my counselling, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. It's really hit and miss. It depends how severe it is. But it's part of the parcel. It's horrible to say that, and if you've had some sort of trauma, I can't speak. If you've had some sort of trauma, yeah, I'm from Bolton, I'm from the northwest of England. We traditionally can't speak from up here. Hiya. So it's vile. Like, and something from 10 years ago could set me off, and I can't control it, and I can't just stop it. I mean, I have to ride it out. That's the horrible thing about anxiety. You don't know how long it's going to last. It could last 5 minutes. It could last hours. It could last a day. I mean, you just don't know. And it's one of those stumbling blocks. It's one of those dominoes that then kicks off another one, kicks off another one, kicks off another one, and then you could snap out of it. You could be fine, and then you could also end up in a really bad depression stage, and I've been there. It's not fun. It's horrible. I've had 5 jobs in the past few years. Everyone I've had to leave on a few occasions because I've been not in particularly great state because of anxiety. And it just hinders you. I mean, now I'm at a point where I can, with the medication, I've got the right medication. I'm in the right setting. I've got my Xbox, which is right next to me. I can go down to the driving range. I'm a United fan, so I mean, well, no, actually, that probably doesn't help the situation. Got England, but that doesn't help the situation either. I've got some form of sport that I can watch. So now I'm in a good setting, and now I'm at a point where I feel like I can have a conversation about all this. So if anybody wants to have a conversation with me, like, you know, if you find this on YouTube for some weird reason, then great. Oh, my I forgot to turn the socket on, so my phone's gonna die soon. So I feel like I'm at a point to have a conversation about all this, and I won't break down, as I said at the start. But it's a road that never really ends in my mind. This whole like mental health, getting to the end of it, I don't think it ever ends. And if anybody's suffering, if anybody's having a bad day, don't take that as a bad thing, because I like, it's taken me a while, but I've twisted that into a sense that I'm learning something new about myself. I'm learning a bit of strength. I'm learning a bit of power about myself that I didn't think I had like the previous day. I'm learning that I can get up, and for me, when I was 18, getting up, making my bed, like 20, 21, 22, getting up, making my bed, and that seemed like an impossible task, because I just didn't want to get out of bed. I just wanted to wallow in my sadness, and that sounds so bad. But yeah, no, it's a never-ending journey, and you learn something new, and that's really cliche, that's really cringy, and I feel really wrong for saying that, and people are going to laugh at me for saying that, so fair enough if you're laughing. I don't blame you. I'll probably laugh with you after I made this video and I watch it back. But it's something that never ends, and you learn countless things about yourself, and you get stronger day by day. And it's about how you adapt to that situation, if you can adapt to that situation. Sorry, I'm just watching, kind of making my dog's not doing anything stupid outside. Well, yeah, but it really is a journey, and I'll on this channel I'll probably do this a couple of times. As I say, I've got my phone perched up on the window. I'm sat on the chair that I've nicked out of the dining room that I play on my Xbox with. I am the least tech savvy person in the world, so I'll probably just do this on my phone until I can actually have a job and actually afford a laptop. But I just think I'm going to talk about quite just regular topics, and I might get someone to come along and sit next to me and put them through it for 25 minutes or half an hour, whatever. But whether it's football, whether it's just generally how I'm feeling that particular day, whether, I don't know, whether it's to do like the dogs or whatever, I'll probably just make it up as the day goes on, and I'll have a think over each week and just see what comes up. But yeah, if you want to subscribe, go for it. If you don't blame you. Yeah. I'm saying positive, but yeah, I try. Yeah, love you and leave you. Thanks for watching if you've watched. If you've made it to 24, 23 minutes, whatever it's on, cheers. Really appreciate that. And if anybody wants to chat, if anybody struggling, you'll get there, I promise you. If I did, then you can. And everyone's different. Everyone's circumstances are different. No one's the same, or else the world would be really fucking boring. This is a difficult time. This is a really difficult time right now. And there are a lot of people in the Northwest that are going to be going into lockdown. There are a lot of people down south who might be struggling. There's people all over the world that are struggling. I have friends. I have quite a few friends all over the world. And I know that times are difficult all over. So you will get there, I promise you. Give it time. If you need a chat, then somehow get in touch if you can. And I'll leave you. Cheers. Bye.